The board is back from executive session. Is there anything to report tonight, Mr. Royan?
No, ma'am.
With that, we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Harlow, you've got the minutes.
We have a couple of sets of minutes this evening. Let's start with the special meeting of March 24th.
I have no changes.
Nor do I.
No changes.
Motion to approve March 24th.
Second.
Mr. Dieters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Bitter?
Aye.
And then also the special meeting of April 28th, 2015.
I have no changes.
Nor do I.
No changes.
Motion to approve April 28th.
Second.
Mr. Dieters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Bitter?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Administrative reports.
Yes, Ms. Reinhardt, members of the board, just a couple items. We have made some changes to some upcoming meeting dates in June. There will be no work session in June, July, or August, I believe. The regular board meeting for June will now be held on Tuesday, June the 2nd. We will start with a CIC meeting at 5, a board meeting at 5:30, a FAC meeting at 6:30, and then the focus group meeting at 7:30 at the Senior Center to discuss funding challenges in our parks, our roads, and our Senior Center. So I just want to make that announcement. Those public notices will also be put on our website, and they have been delivered to the media.
Is that everybody?
Any other administrative reports?
I do. As a matter of practice over the past several years, we've acknowledged every spring the graduating seniors from our Driving Angels Teen Driver Safety Initiative. This has been scheduled for the May 26th work session. We'll have 8 seniors from the schools involved. We'll also have a principal's dinner down in the basement to facilitate the education and the partnerships moving forward in 2015-2016. But we're going to recognize 8 fantastic seniors who served 4 years as part of the Driving Angels initiative. So we're excited about that. We're excited to bring them to you. And we just received an announcement that a partnership or a grant opportunity through the Cincinnati Children's Medical Center called Buckle Up for Life that we applied for as the Department of Public Safety was accepted, and we've been selected as a participating agency to further educate adults and teens on helper safe driving and that message. But we also received 60 car seats and child restraints to help give folks that don't have that ability to make that purchase, make sure they have the equipment to travel around with their young children. So we're excited about that effort. Ms. Jennifer Plogger and Sergeant Dale Woods from the Fire and Police Department were the writers of that grant. So we're excited about that opportunity.
I just have 2 quick things. Sorry, Frank, do you?
You go first.
Thank you. You may have been following the crash that occurred on Banning Road where the 2-year-old was struck, and we were trying to find the citizen who stopped and resuscitated the 2-year-old. We were able to find her, and we're going to have her here at a future trustee meeting when the child gets out of the hospital, and maybe have a nice event where they can meet one another and under better circumstances. Also, we, after testing several second models of body cameras, we've selected the one that we're going to move forward with, and we are starting the ordering process on that. So the body cameras will be on the street in the next few months.
Just a quick announcement, local business in our township, we have so many restaurants in Colerain Township, and every year the health department comes out with the top 10 most violators, and we didn't have anybody in that group this year. That's very good considering the number of restaurants we have. But we did have Tags Cafe down on Springdale Road they won the Clean Kitchen Award, and it was only 14 in entire Hamilton County that was the recipient of that award. So we just wanted to congratulate them on that honor. Thanks.
Is that everybody?
That's it.
Trustees report.
Sure. Just wanted to remind everyone, as I'm sure Mr. Acton will, that our Memorial Day celebration is Monday, May 25th. Is that 10 o'clock or 10:30? 10:30. Honor those we've lost, and especially those who have lost their life in service of our country and our community.
I'll commend Terry Graber and Tags Cafe. Not only a clean restaurant, but great food. So that's news to me. So great. Thanks.
Just briefly, I'm sure lots of people, and especially anybody on Facebook, is probably aware at this point that it is National Police Week, Law Enforcement Week. So I would encourage anyone to, you see officers on the street or near your house, to thank them for their service. And it's a time of remembrance as well as a time of gratefulness to our law enforcement officers. So tell an officer thank you if you see them this week, and that's all I have.
Thanks. One of the roles I have within government outside of being a Colerain Township trustee is serving on the Hamilton County Emergency Management Agency. I've done that for about 8 or 9 years now. I serve with the 3 Hamilton County Commissioners, Trustee Tom Weedman from Sycamore Township, and several other folks. And it's very enjoyable. And the reason I'm talking about that is because several months ago we hired a new director of that agency. And he's here tonight. His name's Nick Crossley. And I invited Nick here tonight because one of his objectives in the near future is to increase the amount of engagement with all of the surrounding municipalities and townships and subdivisions within Hamilton County, and increase that level of engagement and partnership. And so I want to introduce Nick. The board hired him after a nationwide search, and we feel very confident about his leadership going forward. He's a real change agent, and he's really doing some great things at the agency. So I'll turn things over to Nick for a small presentation.
Thank you, sir. First of all, thank you very much for allowing me to come here this evening. I have about 8 minutes to tell you all about emergency management, so it'll be very quick. And I'm going to probably shift around. I'm not used to talking to one group and having a group behind me. So first of all, I did move here from California, and the only thing I miss is the weather. Other than that, I cut my teeth in emergency management in the Kansas City metropolitan area, so not a dissimilar area from this area, large jurisdiction, multiple jurisdictions underneath it. Been in emergency management about 16, 17 years. Took over Hamilton County on February 2nd from Chief Snowden, who retired. He's very happily remodeling his kitchen at this point, for those of you who know Chief Snowden. We were established as an agency by resolution by all the governments in Hamilton County in 1989 as Hamilton County Emergency Management and Civil Defense. And just shortly after 9/11, we started getting a lot of Homeland Security funds, and they changed the name to the Hamilton County Emergency Management Agency and Homeland Security Agency. So they covered both of those. In 2015, I sort of see Homeland Security, we do all hazards emergency management as sort of an outgrowth of emergency management. So I recently went to the executive committee and changed the name to Hamilton County Emergency Management and Homeland Security to just sort of streamline our identity, if you will, which is slowly expanding. We are independent, so like several other agencies within the county. We are governed by an emergency management agency executive committee, which includes all 3 county commissioners as well as representatives from cities, townships, villages, police, fire, and citizen membership. And of course, Trustee Ritter sits on our committee. So as we move forward, we're working for Hamilton County to develop a comprehensive emergency management program. Colerain Township does have a jurisdictional mitigation plan. So this is a plan set forth to mitigate the hazards that might impact the township. We're working on currently developing a preparedness strategy. So a strategy that will engage all of the jurisdictions in Hamilton County. So currently, we've been working a lot on grant management. We've gotten a lot of Homeland Security grants. We're just now developing a strategy to get out and work with all of the jurisdictions in Hamilton County. Developing a community preparedness plan. We need to have a planning strategy. What plans do we need and why do we need them? We need to make sure that we have training and exercises. So better to plan and train and exercise before a disaster than to try to respond during the disaster and put things together. We have a fabulous regional emergency operations center that we need to be able to maintain. And then, of course, we need to know what our capabilities are so that we can identify the gaps and start to fill those gaps in our emergency response structures on a county-wide basis. From an emergency operations plan, the county has an emergency operations plan. We're currently updating that quickly to make sure we're in compliance with state law. Then we're going through a year-long process, and the goal of that is to ensure that everything the county puts together that can support all of the jurisdictions within Hamilton County. And at some point, I'll come back and talk to the leadership of the township and explain what that means. But I want to make sure, and I'm working on a structure now to where we can have the resources to come out and work with all of our townships and villages on their emergency operations planning and ensure that they coincide with our plan, which they're required to do, and that we coincide with the state and the feds. We need to know how we're going to share information with the public. We need to have standard operating procedures. And again, I think the first responders in the room can understand where I'm coming from, where we need to document those policies and procedures. I'm working on a system I hope can help each jurisdiction in the county develop continuity of operations and continuity of governance plans. So if anything happens, if something happens to Colerain Township, it doesn't stop your normal day-to-day services. So rarely is your whole jurisdiction going to be impacted by a disaster. So you have to be able to continue business while responding to the disaster. And how do you do that? And you do that through continuity of operations and continuity of governance planning. And finally, we need to talk about, if a disaster does happen, what are your priorities so that you can quickly get started? Because as soon as you're responding to a disaster, you're starting to plan the recovery. And so we want to go out and help each of the jurisdictions, as well as the county, develop a recovery framework. And so that's sort of in the long-term plan. So as I said, we were created as a county-wide jurisdiction in our agency in 1989. We coordinate all emergency management activities. So technically, I am the emergency management director for all the jurisdictions in Hamilton County. We maintain an emergency operations plan and specific annexes, such as hazardous materials response. We maintain all the warning systems. So some of you may or may not know, the county took over before I got here, all of the outdoor warning sirens. The key being outdoor warning sirens. We have about 200 sirens placed throughout the county. We maintain a 24/7 system to activate that system in the event of primarily a tornado warning. We could activate it in case of a hazardous materials release, primarily focusing on the fact that we want you to do the same thing, which is seek shelter. Not run out with your iPhone, but to seek shelter. So we do maintain that system. We can also activate the EAS system. We're making a change today, actually. I asked for it to be made so that we could activate the cell phone notification system, so we can draw a circle around a group of cell towers and send an emergency alert to every cell phone in that area. We're hoping to have that in place and tested before the All-Star game in case we have to send an emergency message down to the All-Star area. We also maintain HC Notify. We have our app that you can download from Android and iTunes. So we have multiple ways to notify the public, both audibly and verbally, and through text and email of a disaster. And then, of course, we focus on community outreach and preparedness. So we're out talking to community groups, citizens, other people like that, trying to get people prepared. Because at the end of the day, the government can't fix everybody's problems. And in a disaster, when you have thousands of people impacted, we need people to start preparing themselves and take responsibility. We operate and maintain the Regional Operations Center, primarily in coordination with the City of Cincinnati. We coordinate damage assessment information with all appropriate parties. So for disaster, especially if it's multi-jurisdictional, our goal, to be quite honest, is if there's enough damage to get a federal declaration. We also need to make sure the state knows if Hamilton County is impacted by a disaster, here's the impact. So we coordinate the gathering of that information. We assist jurisdictions with emergency declarations and resource requests and disaster reimbursement. And as I've told county departments, we are the backstop for our jurisdictions. So we need to be prepared to help in case of a disaster. And finally, we coordinate training and exercises. And my goal is to bring those exercises down to the local government level. So not only do the staff know how to respond to disaster, but also the elected officials know their roles and responsibilities. And so this is effectively the system we're building. So you have an incident. Most incidents are handled by first responders. Hundreds of incidents, thousands of incidents every year, we never see them. A traffic accident, a multi-vehicle accident, a mass casualty accident, all those are handled without ever activating a larger system. My goal is to set up a system, if things go right this year, and I'm working on that. We have somebody that can come out and start working with the cities, townships, and villages on their emergency operations planning. And if they would like that help, come out and help them plan and train. We want to make sure they have a plan. And then, of course, we need to make sure the county has a robust plan and that we're training and exercising. The region, both on the Ohio side as well as Kentucky and with Indiana, we have several regional plans we need to be able to integrate with. And then, of course, the state of Ohio has recently revamped their emergency management system where they're leaning forward pretty aggressively. And so we need to be able to integrate into that system and make sure that if Hamilton County needs resources, that we can get those resources. And then, of course, at the end of the day, for those of you who don't know, the United States has the most robust emergency management system in the world. And I've literally been all over the world talking about emergency management systems. And I know that because we have a system that starts at the local level and all disasters are local, we can then call out for the region if we need help. And you guys know that. And then we can reach out to the state and the feds, and we can move assets all over this country within, I would say, 24 to 72 hours. It's really amazing that this is the system we're trying to build to make sure that if you're robust, that means we're robust, and that we have the appropriate systems in place. So this is the system that I'm working on putting together. And I started February 2nd, so it's a work in progress. And that's a lot of information in 8 minutes. Any questions?
What is your annual operating budget?
Right now, currently, it's about $500,000. So that includes federal grant money. So we're working on that. What we have to do is set up a system that can help the county, and then I'm working on setting up a system that can also go out to the individual jurisdictions and help them prepare as well.
And how many employees do you have?
Right now, I have 3 full-time that are county and grant funded, and then I have a couple of. We were getting a federal grant that helped with Homeland Security preparedness. That grant ends here shortly. So I'm working on a plan, to be quite candid, that uses county funds, emergency management, Homeland Security funds, as well as I'm sharing a few positions with the city of Cincinnati so that we can, again, be in the largest jurisdiction, however, not the only jurisdiction. So that's why I'm working on a system to help all jurisdictions with their emergency management programs.
This was it inception in 1989. In the last 5 years, how many catastrophes or have you responded to?
Have I responded to?
Or not?
Well, Hamilton County. You know, I get them mixed up. They talk about the windstorm. I can't remember. The windstorm was 08, I think, that happened. We have, of course, we coordinate on a yearly basis any tornado warning or any tornado. Ironically, we had a meeting of our EOC team yesterday during the tornado watch. So since we activate that system, you're lucky up here. We had a lot more in Kansas City, maybe 5-10 times a year, but we do maintain a 24 system for any emergency. All right, sure. Any questions?
The Operations Center on Radcliffe Avenue and Fairmount is very, very impressive if you've ever been there. The Operations Center itself is 2 stories, tall video boards, and really robust communications. It's really an impressive sight to see. Thank you for attending tonight, Nick.
Anytime. Thank you very much.
That leads us into citizens' address. I'm going to try. Okay, is it Mendo Janikluski?
Kiepski, yes.
Kiepski, okay. You're first up.
In advance, thank you for your time this evening. I've got a couple issues that I'd like to address before you. The first one is about 2 weeks ago, had an incident with a couple pit bulls. As I was working on my property, I was charged by the dogs. We called the police, and they came out and arrested the individual for resisting arrest and some other things. The status of the dogs remained on the property. The same dogs had bit a little girl last year. They charged me. The tenant that was in my property was charged 3 times by the same dogs. Actually, the little boy is 2 years old. So I was wondering what Colerain Township's role is in removing those dogs from the property, if any, because the SPCA failed to do anything at the time. They did not take the dogs. I tried to get a report from the fellow that came out to address the situation. I was unable to get a report from them and still waiting those 2 weeks ago. Do you have something directly on the books as far as what the police can do and what the township can do in this situation? Or are we going to wait till something horrendous happens to one of these kids that play back there in that neighborhood before something's done with these animals? Now, at the time, the officer said he couldn't do anything about it. Basically, SPCA said they couldn't do anything about it. So 2 weeks since then, the dogs are still on the property. I've seen them out and about since then. What do we do and who does what? That's my first question.
I know the township for a number of years ago had a vicious dog ordinance, and those were ruled unconstitutional, and we had to rescind that. So we don't have any legislation township-wide that can regulate that, and that's not by our choice. That's by the court's choice. As far as what the SPCA can do, I don't know the answer to that, and I can find that out for you.
I've already been in contact with them, and their agent was out, and there's nothing that they can do, according to him.
All right, as far as actually removing the dog, I'm sorry.
Does the SPCA have a contract with Colerain Township to do animal removal or anything like that?
They are a county agency, and they do have mutual aid agreements with each of the communities in Hamilton County.
But what I was told is they're a nonprofit agency, and they don't really get paid from anybody to do any work, so they don't really have to. Basically, what the guy told me was respond to anything from anybody because they're a nonprofit agency.
I've never had that experience with them. They always come out 24/7 for us. Like I said, I'm more than happy to call down and get answers for you that maybe you're not able to get at this time, and give you some insight into it. As far as the police department, we don't have any authority to remove the dogs from the property.
Is there something the county can implement on their own, or the township can implement on their own, pass some laws to deal with these cases? Or if you can remember, maybe it was a year and a half back when the little girl got attacked over on the west end, and we all know what that turned out like. So there's little kids playing in this neighborhood, and what I'm trying to do, and why I'm here wasting my time, is to prevent one of them from becoming that victim, okay? So everybody seems to do this with it. The dogs are still there.
It's not that we're doing that. It's that we had laws, and the courts declared them unconstitutional. So I don't know if we can pass something new when it's already been litigated.
I will tell you, in all frankness, in my first year on the board, which was probably 5 or 6 years ago, I made the direction to our administrator at the time to have a discussion about a restriction on the types of animals that would be permitted in our township. And I have, and I'll be completely honest with you, I've never seen so many people in this building as were here to tell me that I was doing something wrong.
I don't think it should be an animal. I think it should be an owner.
Sure.
Should be responsible for the animals. You don't have to pick a breed. You have to, address each incident individually, but there has to be something on the books from the township to give the police the power to take the dogs, when events like this occur. Otherwise, again, like I said, we're doing this. We don't have anything on the books. They can't do anything. The SPCA can't do anything, and yet the animals are still there and still a risk to those children.
What is the protocol in the township now when we have a dog bite?
Well, we can cite under fail to confine and then fail to register. That's about the only two tools that we have at our disposal. We do call the SPCA, and if there's any chance at all that that dog is outside of the owner's property and we can't find the owner, they will take the dog for us. Again, that's probably temporary until that owner would go back and get the dog. I've had several officers attacked. I completely sympathize with what you're saying, and I wish there were more tools for us.
So why can't we, or you folks, pass a law, pass something for the township, to give the officers relief, give the citizens relief, address it, do something with it.
I can, if you like, I've been here for 20 years, and I can recall 3 separate times in my tenure here that we've tried non-breed specific legislation. When we went home rule, we went to the vicious dog. That was probably the only thing that was palatable in terms of passing that. We've had hundreds of people protesting out in front of our place whenever we've tried to do anything. If you follow the city of Cincinnati and other jurisdictions. So we've tried the non-breed specific, and finally we thought it was a huge win that we were able to pass the vicious dog resolution, and that was the only thing from a legal standpoint we could really get past, and then it was unconstitutional. We actually hired, and this was before any of this board was even with us, a consultant to look at how we could try to get something passed, and it was not possible. And this is a statewide issue, and you can read about it at Price Hill and all other places. A township has a lot less latitude and authority in terms of the Ohio Revised Code than a city does. And cities are having a real problem with trying to pass this. And, our legal director's not here, but I can tell you that I haven't seen from a township standpoint. We just went to the OTA, and this was brought up for home rule townships, and the answer I received was, at this time, with the vicious dog resolution being unconstitutional, there's not a way in the ORC for us to control this other than what we're doing now.
And exactly what are we doing now?
What he just told you.
He just told me? Okay.
Yes.
And we're happy to work with you as a problem-solving
Yes.
agency to try to see if there's a way outside of the law we can talk to the owners and maybe work out some kind of a resolution. We've had luck with that in the past.
I wish you
And
luck.
we are absolutely happy to work with you, and if you'll give me some contact information, I'll follow up with you.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
My second question or address is zoning issues. The current resident of that property where the dogs are, it's a single-family residence, and there's about 4 families living in there. There's approximately 5 children, 6 to 7 adults, a handicapped individual, and what we have is drug dealing going on from there. We've called the police. There's been incidents there. Last week I was threatened physically, had police come. Do we have anything on the books as a nuisance property? I know there should be something on the books as how many people can live in a single residence home. I've tried to reach the zoning officer over the course of the last 2 to 3 weeks, left numerous voicemail messages for him, and have not had a single phone call back. I know we have zoning laws. I've read them. This area of Northbrook over here has kind of been left alone, and it's slowly turning into an over the Rhine. There's properties over there that are not maintained. There's properties over there that are boarded up. There's properties over there, for example, if I take Redskin off of Colerain and just go down Redskin, I can personally vouch that there are at least 50 violations just on that street alone. Now, I know there's zoning. I know we have rules. I know we have laws. Who is going to implement those rules and laws? And do they apply to everybody or just a few select people? Because if me as a citizen can drive down the street, I assume you folks have probably driven down some of those streets and can see, siding falling off houses, driveways that are curled up. And if we continue to let this go, that neighborhood is going to continue to deteriorate. And I was wondering if you had any thoughts on what we can do and where we can go from here.
Ms. Reinhardt, members of the board, I'd like to take that question if I may. We do recognize that we have a number of nuisance and property maintenance issues in the township. We have attempted to be proactive. However, with some of the budget cuts we faced, our code enforcement department, we now have a full-time police officer dedicated to that, and we're working through a new software program called Excella that allows residents to go online, register their complaint, that will actually allow them to track that process. I will tell you, and I apologize that this zoning administrator has not returned your call. We are in a bit of transition right now. Mr. Mills is departing the township. He's resigned effective the end of this month. We also learned today that our administrative assistant is also resigning for retirement purposes at the end of June. So we are facing a time of transition. I'm not making excuses. I do want you to know that we take this as a top priority. And we are looking at trying to resolve this we've been doing interviews all week to try to get the right staff in there to be more proactive and address some of these complaints. When you get with Mr. Denny this evening with regards to the vicious dog issue, if you would let him know the address of that property, I will make sure that gets entered in the system and investigated tomorrow morning.
Okay, addressing the rest of the properties back there, do you have a timetable or any kind of plan? Do you think that maybe you could use some assistance free of charge, senior citizen volunteers to go out there and make some of these, just note these violations and present them to your officer, things like that may be, not a budgetary item for you. It will be a volunteer basis. Look into something like that, because we're not talking about 1 or 2 properties. We're talking about a lot of properties back there. There's one property on the corner of Capstan. Let's see. They have Capstan and Holly Glen. It has 45 violations. And if you drive by there today, you could probably note another 10 violations. And it just keeps going on and on and on. And really nothing gets done. Right? I come in, make a complaint. 30 days later, it's still there. It's still nothing. A year later, it's still there. It's nothing. Now, is there anything you can do as a township to remove these people from these properties, to find the owners of the properties and have them remove these people from the properties,
Well, I can tell you,
it's causing problems financially for other people that maintain their properties in the area. People can't rent their properties because of these properties and the instances with the dogs and drug dealing and things like that are back there. And we've made an effort. It's not a month, it's not 2 months, 3 years that I can know that I've been coming in, making complaints, and same properties are still there in the same condition.
well, I can tell you this, that the process is very antiquated. You can make a complaint today. We can follow the procedure to cite them, clean the property up, assess them, and it can go right back to the same condition, and we have to start the process over again. You can just imagine the resources it takes.
It does.
We have 58,000 residents in this township, 45 square miles. We do the best we can, and we want to continue to address that. We do recognize that there are a lot of properties in the township, and we will do the best we can. And our citizens have the ability through the online system. You can go out and register a complaint and track it, and that can be done by the individual residents. We also take phone calls, and we try to address them the best we can, and we'll continue to try to do that.
All right. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
I have Mr. Blust.
Hello, my name is James Blust, and I'm here to represent my company. My company is called Real Estate King Incorporated, and what we do is we go into townships and we seek out properties that are distressed. We fix them up from everything. We totally rehab the properties. This year we actually decided to invest a little bit in Colerain Township. And the property that we bought is 3431 Holly Glen Court, which is right next to the gentleman. That's my neighbor, actually. The problem that we're having right now is the drug deal activity that's going on next door, which is 3437. It's right smack in front of me. There's cars going in and out of that property. There's drug deals going on. I can hear it going on. I hear the activity. There was an incident last week where I had the front door open and we had a lot of contractors coming in and out. The dog that the gentleman was referring to came into the house and about scared us. That would have not been a pretty sight if a few other people would have been there.
We actually made a trafficking arrest on Holly Glen last week. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It may not be who you're talking about, but the officers did make an arrest out there on a drug offense. So I'll check into that and see if that has anything to do with what you're talking about.
I talked to 2 officers. When we go into these communities, we don't cause any problems. All we want to do is fix the houses up. We rent them out. We sell, we buy, we trade, we do all kinds of stuff. We primarily like to rent them out for nice families. We provide a decent place to live. There was an incident last week where one of my contractors had blocked her driveway just a little bit. It was like a couple feet or something, and they called the police, and she was out ranting and raving. I pulled up. I didn't know anything about it. I pulled up, and then they started on me. So the police was called. I talked to a couple of the officers the concerns that I had. Again, I tried to get a hold of a Penley, and he's never returned my phone call. I guess he's an investigator or something.
He's our federal enforcement officer.
Okay. He has yet not to get back with me, and I've called him and left a message with him. I'm not familiar really with the area. That's the concern that I have, is the drug deals that are going on. And if I'm able to keep my property up, then I expect the neighbors to keep theirs up as well. That house looks like it's fallen down and nothing's been done to it. They got wires draped over from window to window. They're always in a fight every night. Drunk, passed out on the driveway. I can't, in good conscience, rent that property out to a good family and not knowing what I know there. And something happens, my company can get sued because I'm supposed to disclose that information. And I've never seen an officer drive by there and we've been there a month, on and off a month. Never seen an officer drive by there. And I'm here today to protect my interest because I put a ton of money in this property. and I was planning on buying more. But looking around that area, it's not looking too good. And we buy a lot of properties. This is the first one we own in Colerain Township. We've got them in Reading, Laughlin, all over. I've never had this problem before. This is the first problem I've ever had. So we went and got all our permits. We've done everything right. And I'm not going to be able to rent this property out with neighbors like that. And I need a little bit of help from the police department. I don't know what else we can do. That's why I'm here tonight.
Well, I think part of what you're dealing with is a problem that we've had with the declining housing stock in the neighborhood you've invested in. I think it lends itself to a different business model than both you two have, which is keep the property and take the rent, and that's it. I'm not saying all landlords are like that, but there's a big chunk of them. And we've got a landlord registration program that tries to keep track of that, but tracking down some of these landlords can be troublesome. So you do have the activity, and there's no investment from a lot of people that may be involved in the things you're talking about in that property. Why would they care, especially if they're committing crimes? So the personal investment isn't there. And the landlords, a lot of them who may have these properties that are falling down, like you say, they don't care. They're getting a check. So, and it's incumbent upon us to try to solve that problem. But it's a significant problem in a lot of areas in our community, and you're suffering from it. I apologize for you being in the middle of that, but this township's in a position now where I think we're turning the corner on our resources. We just devoted significant resources from our police department in that area to try to get some of this nuisance issue out, and we've got one of the finest police agencies in the state on top of it. So, I'm glad you came here to be heard because we hear it, and this is a problem that we're taking head on, and I'm hoping that we move the needle on it.
Yeah, well, our company, we don't. We're very, very strict at who we get in there. I've got tenants that have been with me for 10 years that won't leave.
Sure.
And I'm not. I'm always on top of it. So this property that we got here, apparently it was vacant probably for 4 or 5 years, and they absolutely gutted every copper in that place. And it was the gentleman next door that we're talking about, and we were having to start all over from scratch. And we would like to continue investing in that area. I mean, we've got money set aside for Colerain Township for the next year, but it makes me a little leery because I want to see what kind of response I get from the township and see where we go. And again, I'm willing to help. I'm willing, if there's cameras available, you can stick it on my roof. I'll let you, free charge.
To give you a little background, we are members of the DEA task force, and we also now recently joined the Drug Abuse Resistance Task Force, which is a multi-jurisdictional drug task force. So we have addressed these problems head on, and we need people like you to give us that information and allow us to take action. So I will get with you and get some information from you, so we can move forward.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Acton?
Before I get started, gentlemen, I feel sorry for you. My mother and father grew up in that area, and at that time, 20 years ago, it was a growing area. It was a very, very nice area back then. I drive down that street every Friday, and I know what you're talking about.
I think it's just a matter of enforcing the zoning that we have and making people responsible for their properties. Those probably cure 90% of the problems that we have. And like I said before, if you're undermanned, maybe look for other resources, senior citizens, volunteers. They can take on some of this responsibility of work at no charge to the township. And personally, I'd be the first one to volunteer to set something up like that, because I know it'll go towards helping clean this area up, something positive. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
First of all, I'm glad to see quite a few people are here this evening. We're getting there, Mindy, slow but sure. But I'd also like to welcome those people that are watching on Waycross this evening. Some people may not agree with what I'm saying this evening, but it's how I feel about something in the township right now, as these gentlemen do here. But what currently in Colerain Township tells our citizens and our residents and those trailing our Colerain Avenue, Springdale Road area, what Colerain is and what our statement is about Colerain Township.
Could you repeat the question again? I didn't get it.
What is the most prominent area in Colerain Township right now that states who we are? Nobody can answer me.
So do you mean like, our mission statement, or do you mean figuratively in terms of
physical, out, buildings, streets, whatever you want to name it, Mr. Ritter?
So say the Memorial Plaza, Colerain and Springdale. It's a major intersection. You've got a modest plaza that states we're Colerain Township. It also, as you know, honors veterans and public service personnel.
And across the front of that,
so are you saying
big blue letters? It says Colerain Township.
Is that kind of is that what you're talking about? So making a statement on who we are.
Yeah, who we are. Colerain Township.
Okay, so I would say that's
corner is there.
Okay, I would say that's a pretty good statement then. It announces the community. It's a gateway for people coming in from 275. It shows that we honor, veterans and firefighters and policemen who have given the ultimate sacrifice. I think that's a good thing. As you know, we're working on the streetscape plan. That's another statement of the kind of quality community we want.
But that's for another meeting, Mr.
You obviously have an answer in mind, so why don't you tell us?
I've got an answer in mind, yes, and I've got a request in mind also this evening. And Mr. Dieters, thank you for mentioning May 25th. I will also speak about that. But as Mr. Ritter indicated, it's the southwest corner of Springdale and Colerain Avenue. It's been called many names in the past. I can remember it as Clippert Park, because Billy Clippert and I used to hang out there a lot. The old BP gas station, which was a repair shop and oil changing place. Northgate Mall. Today, it's still called by multiple names. The gateway of Colerain Township, the Colerain Plaza, the Colerain Memorial, and to me, it's the Walk of Honor. Mr. Schwarzkopf and Mr. Birkenhauer and I spent many Fridays and many other days meeting with designers, construction people, planning people, monument people, lighting, signing, brick and paver personnel, and companies to produce what's standing on that corner today. Hundreds of residents and businesses have purchased bricks and pavers to honor loved ones, current and those who have passed, and those they would like to honor personally each and every day, who have done an outstanding job in this township for us, police, fire, maintenance people, trustees, and so on down the line. But the biggest thing is this memorial was built there to honor those loved ones who have passed and gave us the life we have today. A few of you here in this here chamber, besides Frank, I know you've been up there, have been up there in the last couple of days, the last week or so. No answer. Was that
a question?
That's a question, yes.
I was there 2 weeks ago with my family right before we ate dinner at Cheddar's.
Okay.
I was there yesterday.
Well, you know what I'll be speaking about then, Dennis.
I was there on April 4th to honor Robin Brocksterman and Brian Shire.
Yeah, Mr. Dieters will
twice in the last two.
Exactly what I'll be
6
speaking
weeks.
about this evening, and I'm sure Frank will also. As a township, leaders and appointed officers, our trustees, We have presented and received many approvals for requests that you've needed. Audiovisual equipment for here, which I'm glad to see the microphones finally working. New office equipment, new training rooms, desk and equipment, new computer system, new copying machines, new police equipment. We got new fire equipment coming up this year and next year, all to support our great township. I feel that our tax dollars are being used very wisely and being spent very wisely also. But, and I say but again, the second time, because there are 56 to 60,000 cars and commercial vehicles past Colerain Township, Gateway, Memorial Plaza, whatever you would like to call it, whether they're residents, visitors, or projected investors. What do these people think about the current condition? And what will they think about the future condition of this here gateway? I spoke to Mr. Tim Schulte. I hope I pronounced his name right, Frank Schulte? Dan Schulte, about the current conditions of the gateway. With a memorial program coming soon, Mr. Schulte stated it will be beautiful, and I'm sure he will do it. I have a lot of confidence in him. But my sorrow and heavy feelings are not only the current conditions, but those conditions after the Memorial Day program. I'm sure Mr. Schulte will do the best he can. As stated earlier, you are elected trustees and appointed officials. Each department has asked for approval of many needs, and you, as trustees, have given their support. I now ask that those tax dollars we residents pay to support our township be allocated or reallocated to support the continued upkeep of our township gateway. This is the gateway to Colerain Township. I'm hopeful within the coming weeks, but before the June trustees meeting, you can approve and reallocate funds to maintain this very important area and assist the continued growth and help Colerain Township continue to grow. I know there's probably going to be many questions asked, but I'm speaking for myself, for members of the Purple Heart Committee, from the VFW, the American Legions, Daughters of the Civil War, and some other military organizations that I've been in touch with. In closing, as Mr. Dieter said earlier, on Monday, May 25th, at 10:30 a.m., there will be a memorial program presented at the gateway to honor loved ones from the past and present, whether they be fire, police, maintenance, historical people, and our military people. But we mostly will be there to honor those who gave their lives, not only for us, but to make Colerain Township a stronger place. Thank you. I'll see you in June. I hope we got resolutions to my request.
Thanks. No questions, but I did fail to point out, and you alluded to it, that we will be dedicating our Purple Heart Memorial on Memorial Day.
Yes. Mr. Tony Cole, representative from the Purple Heart, will be there to present that monument, which is installed now.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Presentations. Tonight we have Dr. Lambert here, yes, from NKU. He's here to present us with some of the survey results from the community survey that his students did for us. And first, we obviously would like to thank you because this was a free service you provided to our residents, and we definitely appreciate all the work and the effort that you and your students put into it. So what do you have for us tonight?
Our pleasure. Our pleasure. Two of the students are with me tonight, David Lumsden and Kathy Kennedy. Have joined me. I thought maybe one or two others. Semester's over, so a lot of people are probably relaxing, taking it easy. I did post that the meeting was tonight, and I'm truly grateful for their help and the help of the other students who participated. Frank, we talked about this last fall and earlier this year. We did a random sample, and by the way, this was from my research methods class that I teach at Northern Kentucky University, where we talk about survey design, sampling, how to do polling, questionnaire design, etc. So Frank provided us a list of around 30,000 registered voters, try to get about a list of about 100 to 200 people per precinct. Precinct size varied a little bit, but randomly selecting people. Each precinct was equally represented in the final calling sheet that was given to each student. Had about 15 students participate in the phone bank. We called several nights in March and April. About 127 surveys, as this points out, were completed. With that result, I estimated about a 90% confidence level with a margin of error of, that should be plus, not equal, I'm sorry, plus or minus 7%. That says equal / but should be plus minus. But anyway, overall, the news is very good for Colerain Township. A lot of people are very satisfied with public services overall, safety of their neighborhoods, quality of life in general. Kept hearing that location of the township was very good with regard to the quality of life. You're close to Cincinnati, but at the same time, you're in a suburban environment as well. The police, fire, EMS, city parks got good reviews. People very satisfied. As far as roads and road maintenance, the results were probably mixed with regards to satisfaction. Not bad ratings, but then again, not as good as with regards to the fire, police, and EMS. With regards to specific questions regarding levies or taxes for parks, earmarked taxes for parks, senior center events, and roads, most people were pretty positive or receptive toward the ideas of the levies. Most were either supportive or undecided about a property tax increase to fund the levy or the levies. I mean, in general, when we asked if would you be supportive of a tax for specific items, they said yes, or they were undecided. But when it came to the property tax, it was a little bit more towards the undecided side, I guess. And then most indicated that they were either supportive or were undecided about having a waste recycling district, specific waste recycling district. Most, as this points out, were supportive of settling the litigation with Rumpke Incorporated. So I know that was an important question. Some other items, the rundown homes, buildings, which we've heard a little bit about tonight, violent crimes, property crimes. Most people said that those were either moderate or minor problems. Most didn't say severe, but then again, most didn't say not a problem at all. Those were other options, but somewhere in that moderate to minor range as far as responses. The open-ended questions, yes. Many people thought safety was a rising concern. Section 8 housing was a concern. The traffic on Colerain Avenue, concern about potholes, and I would say that probably played into the lower ratings for road and road maintenance, the lower scores with regards to satisfaction on roads and road maintenance. Some indicated dissatisfaction with property taxes. That people were also somewhat divided on whether the schools were really good or not so good. Mixed results for the educational system. As I said there, some said that they were really good, others said that they were problematic. Also, other things as far as the open-ended questions. Again, most people thought that was one thing that kept coming up. They liked the location here. They thought it was very good. Close to the amenities that Cincinnati has to offer, major sports, etc. But at the same time, you're in a suburban location. Of course, the parks, many people were satisfied with the parks. And as I recall, there was also support for making police, fire, and EMS spending a high priority. Parks as well. Bike trails, not as much. Some support, but not as much as fire, police, and EMS. See if I have any questions.
The open-ended comment about dislike property taxes seemed to be in conflict with the earlier statement that there was general support for a road levy or something to support.
In general.
That would seem to conflict. And of course, this is an important question for the board going forward. As you know, we had a ballot initiative last fall to fund all those things without raising property taxes, and it failed. And I respect the people's decision on that. But it really gave us no other option going forward other than, levy's really the last card to play. So that's going to be an important issue for the board to consider this year. So that's why I'm focusing on that particular question that seems to conflict with the findings that you presented.
And I think, talking to Dr. Lambert, it was interesting that some of the questions and the students, I talked to them. I was present at the phone banks. Some of the respondents would say, the roads are in horrible shape. We're very dissatisfied, potholes, etc. But we do not want to pass a tax to fix them. So, and I think
they had the chance to do that last November.
Yeah,
they voted it down.
So I think you will see some conflicts and just people are very dissatisfied with something, but the taxes, they don't see them as a fix to some of these.
So let me ask the question this way: how pervasive were the open-ended comments about disdain for property taxes, as opposed to the specific question where you have a statistical, result that showed general support? How pervasive was the general comment? In other words, was it only a few and you just stuck it in the bullet there, or was it widespread?
I think
we're trying to ask Dr. Lambert. I'm just trying to how much credence we should put into that open-ended comment.
I think there weren't that many negative responses against the property tax. Of course, people said, well, we support the levies. The levies for these initiatives. But then when you ask about a specific form of tax, the level of support goes down, and many become undecided. In fact, so I guess many are waiting to hear more about the details. Of course, many small cities, they enact occupational taxes as a way to get around the property tax. You just shift it on the employer, and the employer will take it out of the employee's paychecks. And as you know, many of the people may or may not live in a jurisdiction, and that's one way to go about it.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah, that's what we tried to do.
The door closed on December 31st last year.
For townships,
Okay.
Nevertheless, feedback is good, and I want to thank you and your students a lot for the work you've done on this, and I look forward to diving into the details and peeling back the onion a little bit more broadly on what the findings were and discussing it with the board and our team here going forward. It's going to be very helpful for us.
I sent the full report to Frank, so if you have any questions, just get in touch with Frank, and he can get in touch with me.
Thank you guys for coming
Sure.
out tonight. It looks like we
Very
have
welcome.
Got a couple.
Was there any differentiation between the roads that are township's responsibility and the roads that are not.
Good question.
I noticed one of the things that one of the comments was that residents said Colerain on your traffic on Colerain Avenue,
Right.
which there's only so much that the township is responsible for that. So when they start saying roads and potholes, if you say potholes on Galbraith Road, well, the county's doing what they can on that right now, but that's not the township.
Yes. Let me ask it this way. Is there any way to differentiate the road maintenance comment between township roads or
in residential, even of the township residents?
Answer that.
A lot of residents that are beautiful township streets, and then a lot of residents that are not.
But the way we worded it, and we had discussed this, is the question about, are you very satisfied? It was on Colerain Township streets, not on Colerain Avenue, it says Colerain Township streets, and not highways or roads. So when we talk about marketing a road levy, if that was to occur, I was here in 2001 when they talked about that. They said always refer to it as township streets. Because when you say roads or highways, they're thinking of Colerain Avenue. So I think that we worded it the best we could, but to answer your question, there's no way to ascertain in their mind whether they were thinking Colerain Avenue, Pippin Road, or Galbraith. But we felt like saying the Colerain Township streets was the best way to get them thinking they're subdivision streets.
The survey lasted about 10, 15 minutes, depending upon how much people wanted to talk, and there's a push, I guess, to try to streamline somewhat, but on the other hand, try to get as much details as possible. And I can envision if you try to specify, okay, this is a township road, or this is, it could confuse people, or many people don't. They just see roads, and then that's.
There's a lot of people that still don't get it, and we get those calls all the time, and I don't know. From a branding perspective, how we message that, I think it's a problem all townships in the state of Ohio have because they have county, state, and township streets.
Professor, I come from a grocery background. Years ago, the University of Dayton had a program for me for a Kroger company. Where I started supporting the program in the private area. This township, as Mr. Rowan has said, we have roughly 56,000 residents. Talking to Mr. Rose, we have 32,000 that are eligible voters. In my book, 127 people are very many. When I done my Kroger project, University of Dayton, over 450 students, residents come in. 127 people do not represent.
I thought that was per precinct.
What's that?
Didn't it say per precinct?
No, the sampling was 100 to 200 per precinct. The total response was about 127. My understanding, and I can tell you, Director Malloy, myself, our fire chief, Frank Cook, and our fiscal officer all went through the master's program and have participated in these very painful classes in some respect. And in talking to Dr. Lambert and his professors, I graduated from the program back in '95. It would shock you when you look at the Gallup polls and other things occurring. Statistic sampling is certainly a science, and I still have a hard time grasping some of the fundamentals of it. This gentleman is certainly the expert and been published on this. These Gallup polls, it's my understanding, when they do the presidential Gallup polls, sometimes that's 250 people for the CMSA in Cincinnati that they're doing this for. So I trust the experts that 127 gives us a sampling, and I feel confident that unlike some other things we've done in the past, we did mailing cards and they mailed them back and other things. This is one of the best sampling methodologies I've seen in my tenure here, and I think that 127. He said it's a 90% confidence level about with plus or minus 7% error rate. What you see on TV for a Gallup poll is this is a 90% confidence level where this is the answer and it's a plus or minus 5% error rate. They rarely give you both of those numbers, and there's a reason for
Their
that.
Gallup polls are in the thousands, not in the hundreds.
I disagree.
I disagree with you.
Okay. That's
We both disagree.
Well, the original goal was to get about 280, to try to reach that many people. Some people aren't home, difficult to reach. So we had to settle for 127. Had we gotten about 280, we would have had a 95% confidence level with a margin of error plus or minus 5. With random sampling, you can, you'll never get 100%, you'll never get a margin of error of 0, that's impossible. But we were shooting for 280 and we ended up with 127, so you have to accept the lower confidence level. You have to accept the higher margin of error, but given the time constraints and when we need to get this done, 90% confidence level is not bad.
Okay, Doctor, since we're on Waycross TV, you might be able to explain to the Colerain Township citizens how you came up with the number of residents that you contacted.
Sure. That was assigning a random digit to each precinct 1 through 8, and then taking the number 8 and pulling those from each precinct. So we had random. The telephone numbers, and we didn't identify individuals because of privacy or institutional review board concerns. But now at the precinct level, to make projections, yes, you would have trouble there because you've got 10, 20 perhaps per precinct. So that's not sufficient. But I think in the aggregate, you can get some gist of general opinions. 90% confidence level.
But you still, I gotta re-ask my question.
Sure.
How did you come up with the number of people that you did get to solicit your phone calls to?
It was voter registration of about 32,000.
It was the voter registration list.
Right. Telephone numbers.
And then we broke that down.
Just want the citizens to understand what you've done, because I know the job that you went through is one agent job.
Could you expand a little bit on why the respondents were in favor of ending the litigation or something like that on that? Was it strictly a money issue?
No, it was just, and actually I can quote you the question. It was, would you be in favor of ending the litigation with the Rumpke landfill and thereby, and don't quote me exactly on this, but in allowing the expansion of the Rumpke facility? Yes or no, or undecided. So there was no background. We didn't mention the monetary aspect of it. That was not even in the equation. So whether they had that in their head or not, I don't know.
Any other questions?
I'd just like to comment and also thank Dr. Lambert and the class. This is just one tool that we have in our toolbox as we try to evaluate our performance, engage our community. We've done a number of different surveys. When we did the Rumpke settlement, we took feedback from those various sessions we had. This was part of our strategic initiative to reach out and to try to get some information back to help guide a further conversation. And what this is going to allow us to springboard, in particular as we look at our financial situation and our 2022 sustainability plan, is that we have the funding necessary to sustain our public safety departments through 2022. But when you think about the non-safety departments, it does comprise of parks, our seniors, and our roads. And I want to speak of roads a little bit more than just township streets, because if I'm a resident and I'm being asked to pass a tax levy, what's in it for me if nothing's going to happen to my road? I would argue, and I'll discuss as part of my focus group on June the 2nd, is that if we have a source of income that is available to sustain our parks, our senior center, and our roads, I see an opportunity like other townships and other municipalities to partner with the local county and the state in providing matching funds to fix some of our county and our state roads so that we have the ability to move this township forward as an entire township rather than just specifically focusing on township streets. We know that's where our priority is, but I would also argue that there's going to be an opportunity there to provide some matching grants in the future through SCIP funding and other types of funding programs to help fix those streets. We've already had a conversation with Hamilton County with regards to East Miami River Road. If we had some matching funds, I think we could accelerate that project maybe a little quicker. So I think we need to look at the non-safety department globally, and that's one of the reasons we asked the questions that we did is what is your support for parks, what is your support for senior center, and what is your support for roads? Because depending on where you are in your life, you may have kids in baseball or soccer that the parks mean everything to me right now. Others may say the roads or the senior center. But the reality for us is we need to have a sustainability plan to take us to 2022 and address all three of those components. We can't succeed with any one of those components missing. So we'll talk on June 2nd, this focus group, about what's going to be necessary to move that needle and to reach that sustainability plan, whether it's a levy or whether it's some other alternative way. And I know some will say, well, the state needs to solve our problem. We will continue to lobby. We've had conversations with our legislators, even as much as the latest proposed change in the biennial budget, that they're going to cut $47,000 in TPP revenue. Even with everything that we've done, $47,000 is not a lot of money, but it's something that we could keep in our general fund that we're probably going to lose. So I think the thought of the state coming by with their horse and saving the day is not going to happen. So this conversation needs to continue. This is one tool. The focus group will be one tool, and then we'll try to come up with some data-based decisions in the future as far as what the next steps are to try to achieve that sustainability. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thanks. You're welcome. Our pleasure.
Thank you. We have new business tonight. Public Safety Director Lloyd.
First item on the board's agenda is a request to approve a resolution authorizing the Colerain Police Department to participate in the Hamilton County Heroin Coalition Task Force. There's several points of note here, but the biggest part is to join a partnership to the Heroin Coalition Task Force that was announced 2 Fridays ago as a countywide operation with a countywide philosophy to partner together, share services, share resources, work willingly together, and share intelligence as well from a fire EMS perspective as well as a police perspective. And the county or the police association has asked for all the police departments to seek support from their leadership. So I ask the board to approve that resolution.
Motion approved. Second. Aye.
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 Thank you. The next item, Chief Cook was here at the last work session and presented the state of fire apparatus in respect to the engines and the ladder. What I'm asking the board tonight is allow us to move forward with the design and bid process so we can better understand as we work towards future budget preparations, and knowing that there's a 12 to 18 month window in respect to order and receipt date that allow us to move forward with the chiefs and Mr. Rowan to better prepare as we move forward, understand what this cost is going to be and how we're going to be able to take care of that.
Motion approved. Second.
Aye. Ms. Reinhardt? Aye. Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Next item is that we asked for a pay rate change for firefighter Doug Lally from firefighter EMT to firefighter EMT FAO, effective date of May 24, 2015. The rate of pay of $14.72. Ask for the board's approval.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Peters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Thank you. And the last item is a change of status. Firefighter Richard Widskin, moving from firefighter, excuse me, sometimes I forget these statuses, but he's moving to the 2B position, which is makes him eligible for health care and increases his work hours. Firefighter Widskin's declining health care, but he's agreed to be a part of the 2B program and further enhance our service and sustainability with manpower scheduling. So we ask for approval for Firefighter Winston to be approved as a 2B.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Peters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good evening. I have two quick items. The first is a donation acceptance. I request your approval to accept a $30 donation from an anonymous citizen who wished to thank the police department for conducting vacation checks while she was out of town.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Peters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
The second is a request to accept an approval for a $2,500 grant from the Walmart Foundation. That grant is for our police K-9 unit. And as a point of reference, that brings our total dollar donations in grants to $5,696 for the K-9 program. And that's not including the in-kind donations of food and medicine and medical care for the dog.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Peters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Thank you.
Ms. Reinhardt, members of the board, I have two items. My first would be recommend approval to designate Frank Birkenhauer as acting zoning administrator effective May 22nd, 2015, until such time a successor is hired.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Peters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
And my last item is to recommend approval of a personal services agreement with Jeff Mills to serve as technical consultant for the comprehensive plan update and the Excel integration at his hourly rate of $36.05 an hour, not to exceed 220 hours. And that will be effective May 22nd.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Peters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt?
Aye.
Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Ms. Harlow? Just, the only thing I have this evening is asking for your usual approval of payroll, purchase orders, and receipts.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Peters?
Aye.
Ms. Reinhardt? Aye. Mr. Ritter?
Aye.
Mrs. Harlow, Mr. Rowan, that our initiative to join the treasurer on the Ohio checkbook online. I know we've been on board thanks to Mrs. Harlow and you, Mr. Rowan, from the beginning of this. I'm seeing general announcements on social media about other communities. I think we need to step up and let our residents know that we've joined this cause. And I think that's probably going to be a pretty quick email as a gentleman you've been working with to get us up and running on that.
Okay.
So, just so our residents know.
I agree. I know we're still working on the time frame of their implementation of it. I would encourage folks, if they're interested in the how the state is spending your money. It's a really cool website. It's almost like searching Google, and you can compare how much one department spends on an item versus how much another department spends on an item. So it's a really interesting tool if you have an hour to spend one afternoon. You can get lost in it real quick. So thanks.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.